Welcome to the Home Downsizing Show. My name is Ben Souchek, your host and the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions. With the Home Downsizing Show, I want to provide you the information and resources to make the downsizing of your house stress and hassle-free. So sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining us. Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Home Downsizing Podcast. This is Ben Souchek, the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions, and welcome to 2023. Apologize for taking a couple weeks off of the podcast, so if you're listening, you probably listened to previous episodes, but this week I wanted to discuss one thing that is not a blanket statement by any means, but something especially this time of year and after the last couple of years that we've had, I'd like to discuss a question that I often get, which is, what is my home worth? And that is a very challenging question. It's not an easy question to answer. Again, as I just mentioned, with the last couple of years, especially in early 2022, where the real estate market was very hot, where it was very typical for a person to put a house on the market, and then the seller would get, there was so much demand for houses that the seller would get multiple offers, and typically offers above asking price. And there was no logical reason for what people were offering or that they were even offering, except the fact that people, I think, get into kind of a buying frenzy because of the news cycle, what they see on the news, and not to mention, of course, very low interest rates, and that they were low for some time, historically low, below 3%. And so people start thinking, well, if I can buy a house almost no matter what the price is and lock in a 3% or below 3% loan, that makes the house much more affordable. And so almost 12 months ago now, it was just a crazy market for selling a house. And if you wanted to sell a house, it was very, very easy to do so, and at a very good price. It also didn't seem to mind or matter, to some extent, what kind of condition a house was in. If a house needed updates, if a house needed some repairs, some buyers were willing to overlook a lot of that just in order to get in a house and to purchase a house because of the market and because of all the demand and competition there were from other buyers. And in general, it was just a very different, untypical or not typical market. And things have certainly changed from 6 to 12 months ago. In January here of 2023, we're not quite at the high interest rates that we've seen a couple months ago, which were right at or even over 7%, but we're still in the sixes, typically for a 30-year mortgage, which is kind of the benchmark that people go by. And so, again, historically, really, 6% still isn't a bad rate, but it's still twice as high as the less than 3% rates that we had approximately 12 months ago. And interest rates certainly are one big component to determine pricing of houses. Because of the interest rates going up to what they are or were, it's made the home affordability much less than what it was even a couple of years ago. And so that's why we've had the kind of reduction in how many houses are sold how many buyers are looking at buying, and really, it's still not a terrible market by any means. I don't want to sound like it's a horrible market, although I think the next 6 to 12 months are going to be, well, if I had a crystal ball, of course, who knows? But I can't tell you what the next 6 to 12 months holds, but I do think it's going to be an interesting 6 to 12 months. And I don't see a return to the market that we had 6 to 12 months ago. So if a person is waiting out the current market to hope to get back to the selling frenzy that it was 6 to 12 months ago, I don't think that's going to happen. The Federal Reserve, although I'll step back here a little bit, even though interest rates on mortgages have come down from, again, about 7% or over 7% a few months ago to the mid sixes or low 6%, I personally cannot see them going lower than 6, because at this time, the Federal Reserve is stating that they're going to continue raising their interest rates to fight inflation. And which is kind of interest rates are kind of an odd situation right now, in that the Federal Reserve is continuing to raise their rates, but the mortgage rates, which are based on 10-year Treasury bills, have come down a little bit since a few months ago when they were higher. And so, which typically long-term mortgages are based somewhat on the 10-year federal treasuries. And so that's why you've seen a little bit of reduction with them. So what does this have to do with what's the price of my home? Well, besides interest rates, I wanted to discuss that. But I also want to discuss, because of the changing market, the condition of your house or of a house is certainly more important now than what it was 6 to 12 months ago, when a lot of buyers didn't seem to care quite as much. In a typical market, if you're looking at comparable houses that have sold and are trying to find where the value of your house is, a person could say, well, that house sold for, let's just say, $200,000 12 months ago. Again, because 12 months ago, people were overlooking a lot of things. In the current market, and I think going forward, a seller really has to look at the condition of your house versus other comparables or other competition and potential competition of houses. So what I mean by that is the age of the roof. So if the competition or other comparable houses that have sold had new roofs, new windows, new kitchens with solid surface countertops like granite or marble, other solid surfaces. If the bathrooms were updated, same thing with solid surface countertops, and or your HVAC system has been recently updated so that it's a high efficiency furnace and economical air conditioning. If your house does not have some of those issues, a buyer will typically take that into account when they're making an offer on a house. Again, 6 to 12 months ago, it wasn't quite as important, and buyers would overlook some of that. But in a typical market, I would always advise homeowners, if they're looking and want to sell, that they really need to take a look to see how their house compares to competition or other comparables that have sold, in order to price your house competitively, especially if you want to sell the house. again, I think more buyers will be more picky. They will look at some of those items and will make offers based on that information more so than what they were a year or so ago. So the condition is the other big item. You have interest rates that play a big role. You have the condition of the house and how the house is built as a big item. And the other item with my company, Home Downsizing Solutions, where we buy houses, a lot of people will always say, well, they'll one ask what the company will pay for their house, but they will also state what they believe their house is worth, and they get that information from a couple sources that may or may not be accurate. One, of course, from the county assessor or appraiser, and the county assessor or appraiser will typically have values that lag the market a little bit. So since they only set their rates or their values once a year, and sometimes they don't look at those every year, so those numbers may be typically a little bit lower than market value when the market is going up, and they will be a little higher if the market has corrected recently. A second place that a lot of people get values from is from what I term online aggregators like a Zillow or Realtor.com and some of the other online services that provide what they think are values of your house. And so I hear a lot of people say, well, Zillow says that my house is worth X number of dollars. And that may or may not be correct. Again, they are aggregating information that they have from public records and from the multiple listing service from realtors, and they try and determine then by that what other surrounding houses are worth. But they don't really have an exact idea of maybe some of the special things that your house has or what other houses have sold have that maybe your house does not have. And so again, it can be one piece of the puzzle to the value puzzle if you're thinking of it that way. So it's certainly some information, but it may or may not be correct. The other place that a person, of course, can get valuations from are from real estate agents. And again, in my opinion, some of them are correct, and some of them may not be quite accurate. They should be typically more accurate than others. But when I hear a person say, an agent told me that my house was worth X number of dollars, again, just to use $200,000 for an example, or say the agent said it was worth $220,000. So when a person asks one common question that we get at Home Downsizing Solutions is, what percent of the market value do you pay? And so the reason I wanted to discuss valuations and how people arrive at valuations here is because it can be subjective. It can be, in the case of an online aggregator like Zillow.com or Realtor.com, it may or may not be accurate. With real estate agents, a lot of times they should be accurate, but if they're trying to get you to list your house with them, they may be a little over optimistic about what you can actually get for your house. And of course, if you're in a market like we were again last year, sometimes it was easy to maybe overpromise a little bit because there was so much demand that a person might be able to attain a higher price than what really should have been attained in a typical market. So just be aware that when you're asking an agent for a market valuation, to look at all the information that they can provide, which is not just what they think your house will sell for at some point in the future, but also look at comparables as to what like houses like yours, in the condition that yours is in, have sold for in the past 6 to 12 months. And going back 6 to 12 months from right now in history, I don't think is a good gauge, because the market was just so, buyers are so aggressive that it really distorted the market from 6 to 12 months ago. But historically, you should be able to go back 6 to 12 months to find a good valuation. In this circumstance now, I would be going back to early 2021 to try and get a gauge of maybe what houses are going to be valued at now and in the next 6 to 12 months. So I would look at the houses that have sold. I would look at the houses that are for sale, what your competition is. And in a typical market, I would look at the houses that did not sell. So the expired and canceled listings, the houses that were on the market for a while and did not sell. And that will give you some kind of indication too of where values might be. So I hope this episode has given you some ideas or some information as far as how we look at and how I look at the answer when a person asks a question, what is my house worth? It's not always an easy way, an easy thing to determine, but these are some of the main items or issues that we look at when pricing a house. So if you have questions about valuations and about the value of your house, you can certainly give our office a call at toll-free 855-291-5005, or go to homedownsizing.com, and we'd be happy to help you. If you would like a free copy of my book, Home Downsizing Secrets, you can go to homedownsizing.secrets.com, or again, you can just call our office toll-free 855-291-5005, and we'd be happy to assist you in whatever way that we can to make the downsizing process as stress-free and hassle-free as it can be. So again, thank you for listening to today's podcast. And if we can assist in any way, please let us know. And if you have any ideas for topics that you'd like us to discuss in the new year here, let me know, and I'd be happy to do that as well. Have a great day, and thank you for listening to the Home Downsizing Show. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home Downsizing Show. For additional information and resources on home downsizing, just go to homedownsizingblueprint.com. That's homedownsizingblueprint.com. Or if you're ready to sell your house and downsize, just go to homedownsizingsolutions.com. That's homedownsizingsolutions.com. And if you have ideas to improve our show, or topics that you'd like us to cover, or have any questions that we can answer, just call our office toll-free 855-291-5005. That's 855-291-5005. Thank you.